I have discovered some fantastic books already in 2022, and at the end of this video I will force you to add these books to your TBR. I know your TBR probably looks like this, but does it make any difference if you add another 4 books? Yes. Yes, it does. But we are bookworms and we don't care that we don't have any control over our TBRs. And if it helps, I'm only adding 2,256 pages to your TBR. That is fine. But enough of me talking, let's talk about some of my new favorite books that I've discovered in 2022 so far. Firstly, we have a book that I thought was a Greek retelling, judging from the cover, which is apparently not a Greek retelling, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I'm not even sure where to start with this book. I only picked up this book since I had heard so many reviewers that I trust praise this book. However, this book was nothing like what I expected. I didn't know anything about this book going into it, which definitely enhanced my reading experience. If possible, then I would highly recommend going blindly into this story, since I think that would probably increase your enjoyment of this book. I was absolutely mesmerized by this story. Firstly, I was quite confused about which direction Clarke was taking this story, but I decided to stick with this book and I'm so glad I did. Clarke's prose is so beautiful, and Clarke's ability to create intrigue, mystery and atmosphere is some of the best I have ever read. Moreover, Clarke does a phenomenal job at making the reader feel for the main story protagonist. One of the best aspects of this book is definitely the themes. Due to spoiler reasons, I will not mention any of the themes, but wow, Piranesi will definitely make you think. Also, this book is quite short at only 272 pages, so you could potentially read this book in between bigger series. So who is this book for? I can actually imagine most people really enjoying this one, even non-fancy readers. Piranesi is definitely one of the most creative and original books I have ever read. The uniqueness of the story will not be to everyone's taste, but I would recommend everyone give this book a try. It's been more than a month since I finished Piranesi and I still think about this book on a frequent basis. Please, just give this one a try. I gave this one 5 stars. I thought it was brilliant and I really need to look into some of Clarke's other works now. Okay, sorry to interrupt you guys, but I need your feedback on something. I'm considering switching which book is facing outward, and I currently have this Dune cover which is absolutely stunning. However, I'm considering maybe having To Sleep in a Sea of Stars or The Shadow of the Gods facing outwards, because I love those covers. I asked you guys over on Instagram and Twitter and almost everyone seems to be either voting for Dune or The Shadow of the Gods. It's a close call. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below if I should change which book is facing outwards. Back to the video. Next up we have Ship of Magic by the Queen of Fantasy, Robin Hobb. Last year I read the Farseer trilogy and I fell in love with Hobb's writing, her character work, her world building, and the Life Ship Traders trilogy is definitely one of my priority series to read and finish in 2022. And I'm so happy that I picked up this book. I frequently heard that the Life Ship Traders trilogy is even better than Farseer, and I can already see why. If you don't know anything about Robin Hobb's Realms of the Elderlings, then it's a 17-book series that is split into different trilogies and one quartet. The Life Ship trilogy is chronologically the sequel trilogy in the series, so most readers will probably recommend starting with the Farseer trilogy. So, what did I think about this book? I love this book so much. It's definitely one of my favorite reads of 2022 and is arguably my favorite Robin Hobb book I have ever read. It is baffling how talented Robin Hobb is. While the Farseer trilogy is a single first-person POV story, the Life Ship Trader is told through multiple third-person POVs. Although the writing style is different, Ship of Magic has some of the best characterizations and writing I have ever read. Hobb's prose truly speaks to my soul. And not surprisingly, Hobb is able to craft some of the most compelling and complex characters I have ever come across in fantasy. Hobb does a terrific job at fleshing out each character and making them feel realistic and compelling. Consequently, Hobb has crafted some of the most despicable characters I have ever come across in fantasy. I can't even start to describe the feelings Kyle invoked in me. Such a horrible, horrible human. Hobb's ability to make the reader either care or hate a specific character is near unrivaled. It's no wonder why people call Hobb the Queen of Fantasy. However, in typical Hobb fashion, Ship of Magic is very slow-paced. Hobb enjoys taking her time fleshing out all the characters, the locations, and the world. So if you don't enjoy a slow burn book, then it's probably not worth picking up this series. Ship of Magic is already one of my favorite reads of 2022. If you read and enjoyed the Farseer trilogy, then you need to read this book. I also gave this book 5 stars, and it's probably the best Robin Hobb book I read so far. Have you added this book to your TBR yet? Thirdly, we have The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I think I might have finished this book in late December or early January. I don't remember, but it's still worth talking about. Also, just look how beautiful this Goldspur edition is. It is signed and numbered and has beautiful sprayed edges. I have talked about this book previously in this video, so I won't repeat everything again. But if you're like me and you love fantasy books that have a lot of political maneuvering, strategizing, compelling characters and interesting themes, then it's worth checking out this book. The Justice of Kings is the first book in the Empire of the Wolf series, and it follows Sir Conrad Vonwald, an Emperor's justice, as he's investigating a murder of a noblewoman. As Vonwald starts to investigate the murder, Vonwald starts to unravel a conspiracy that could see the end of the Empire. There are so many things that I loved about this book. I love the premise. This book feels very much like a fantasy/thriller book that then gradually integrates other fantastical elements such as magic, lore, and battle scenes. Also, Swan does a fantastic job at creating tension. I was really impressed by Swan's ability to craft a complex story with so many threads intertwining, while simultaneously helping the reader follow and understand the story. Also, Swan's character work deserves high praise. Vonwald, the protagonist, is an utterly compelling and complex character. It was so fascinating to observe how Vonwald slowly changes throughout the story. The other two main characters, Helena and Bressinger, are also exciting and engaging. But what really stood out to me is the commentary on law and traditions. I won't be saying more because I've already written a review that is on my blog, and you can also watch that video, which I will link in the description down below, if you wanted to hear my full thoughts on this book. I gave this book 4.5 stars. Definitely a fantastic read, which I would highly recommend. Last but not least, we have a book that I'm only 80% finished with, so I haven't actually read the whole book yet, but I need to mention this book because so far it is incredible. And that is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I don't have a physical copy of The Hunger of the Gods yet, so I'll just be holding up The Shadow of the Gods. Also, look how beautiful this cover is. If you didn't know, then John Gwynne is one of my all-time favorite authors. I read all of his published books and I have loved all of them. The internet went crazy last year when the cover for The Shadow of the Gods was announced, and the internet went crazy again this year when the cover for The Hunger of the Gods was announced, and I totally understand why. These covers are some of the most epic covers I have ever seen. Just look at them. I was very fortunate to get an e-arc of The Hunger of the Gods, which is the second book in the Bloodsworn trilogy. I gave The Shadow of the Gods 4.5 stars, but I can already now say that I'm enjoying The Hunger of the Gods even more than The Shadow of the Gods. I feel much more invested in the characters, the stakes are higher, and this is definitely some of John Gwynne's best writing so far. I'm getting very close to the end, so I feel comfortable including this book in this list. I will make a dedicated review for this one when I eventually finish it, but I'm expecting The Hunger of the Gods to be included in one of my favorite books of 2022. So these are some of my favorite books that I have discovered in 2022. Have you read any of these? I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it.